The following is a conversation with Jennifer, known as the Vegan Tech Nomad. She's a brilliant person and she knows all about how to track your life in order to reach to your highest potential and get the most out of your day. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you don't miss any episodes. If you like this episode, please like it and share it with a friend. All right, let's jump in.
Hey Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here.
Cool. Yeah, me too. So I wanna just like the most important reason why I wanted to bring you on is that your content is fascinating to me and what you're doing basically. So why don't you give the audience, first of all, a background about yourself? What is the main type of content that you're doing, your courses, all of that?
Yeah, so I'm Jennifer. I'm known as Vegan Tech Nomad on social media, but I started out thinking I was gonna do like travel and vegan food content, but it was so hard to edit, so I ended up in productivity. But I guess it still counts because the tech is in my name. So it was just so much easier to do, and a lot of my friends were like, the way that you track your time 24/7 is really interesting. So I was posting about that a lot, and it didn't take off until December last year in 2023. And when it did, I kind of just built my business off of that. So I was selling Notion templates, I was offering coaching, and I tried a bunch of things in the first quarter of 2024 this year. And now I'm just making my own course, and it's been pretty fun.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. So what is what inspired you to start tracking your time 24/7? And I mean, my audience might have a different concept of tracking their time, as opposed to what you like the metrics that you used and cry count and all of that. So what inspired you to do that?
I think if it's time tracking specifically, that started August 2022. And that was because I was like, I want to do so many things. Like, I want to learn piano, learn languages, and do all these things. But when I live my days day to day, I'm like, I don't even know where all my time goes. And suddenly it's the end of the day. And I don't have time to do anything that I want to do. So I was like, let me just start tracking 24/7, and then I can be able to see what I'm actually doing. So in the app that I use called Toggle Track, which I also teach a little bit of in my course, I have like, there's like the entire calendar where like it actually shows what you do and not just the calendar of things you're supposed to do. Cause sometimes things don't go according to plan. So I'm like, I need the actual time tracking for the other life tracking stuff. So it's just like personal interest. Like, I've kept a daily journal every day since 2015. So it's been a long time now. And that's just because, I like doing it. It helps me reflect. And then it also helps me pull up fun memories that I might have forgotten about. I remember one time I pulled up a random day that I spent with a friend, and I was like messaging him, hey, remember we did this? Like, this is what my journal entry said. And he was like, this is in so much detail. I forgot we talked about this, but it was really fun. So it's just a way to not forget those memories.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So first of all, like what if you can you take me through like your typical day? Like because you say you track everything, like even a small thing. I want to know like how does that look like in your calendar? Or like let's say you whatever you eat and now like you just write it down that I ate a food like at this time. Like what exactly do you do?
Mm. Yeah, a lot of people think it's a lot of work, but like, I don't track to the exact minute. I feel like, if you get too caught up in that, you're not gonna have the important insights that you started time tracking for. So, like, if I'm working on making a YouTube video, I'll just put YouTube video and then that's it. And I can just get into that flow state and start filming and editing. But if it's like, I'm not doing like, make my food and then like eat my food, I just track it as food in general. And even if I'm like a few minutes or hours off throughout the course of the year, that's not going to matter. What matters is the long-term trends, and an hour or two is not really going to make an impact. So for my day, I don't really keep a strict schedule every day, because right now, like, I feel like I'm too chaotic for that. So I'll wake up and then have breakfast and exercise a little bit. And then, so like on my timer, I'll change the sleep timer to like get ready or like go to the bathroom. And in the past, before doing this time tracking stuff, I would, as soon as I wake up, I would just go on my phone and scroll for like an hour before actually getting up. But because I feel bad when I'm going there to change the timer from sleep to phone time, and I feel bad seeing that it's been an hour. I just change it from sleep to bathroom or sleep to get up or like get ready. And then I'm like, okay, now that the timer is get ready, like I have to get up, and it kind of motivates me to get out of bed. And my students are like, oh yeah, I noticed that too. Like it helps me be more mindful once I track it. And if you have to manually change it, that's why this isn't automatic. If you manually change it, they're like, oh, should I really be going on my phone? So it's like you kind of vibe check yourself. And then after that, I just like go about my day. Like right now, my timer is on this podcast thing. So it's like in big chunks. And if I'm doing multiple things at once, like if I'm transiting, but I'm responding to people, then I count the main activity that I think will make most sense for my analysis, which would be transiting, because I wanted to see how long I spend on transit and if that's too long or if I could make better use of that time.
Yeah, I think they say what gets measured gets improved. So I guess the example that you mentioned that like you feel bad about changing it to phone time, it's like exactly because you're measuring this, that's why you can avoid it basically. You've talked about in one of your videos, you've talked about life in weeks, and I've read this book from Oliver Berkman, I think 4,000 Weeks. It basically argued that on average, people have 4,000 weeks to live. What are your thoughts on that? And like, why do you think that's important to have this idea of like, your life in weeks, basically?
Yeah, so that's actually an activity I make people do in my course. And a lot of students comment on that. They're like, seeing it laid out like that kind of makes them take action. Because I think if you think you have your whole life ahead of you and there's like infinite time to do everything you want to do, you're going to be like taking it slow and like going on your phone. But ever since I saw that, and there's another example I'll share later, but ever since I saw that, I was like, oh, I have to like make every week count. Every day needs to count. So then I'm less tempted to spend time on my phone, because I also noticed that when I spend time on my phone, sometimes it doesn't make me happy. It's just like something to pass the time because I'm tired or something. But if I spend time on something else, then it makes me a lot happier. So I'm like, why am I, we have finite time on this earth. Why would I waste my time on my phone when I could be doing something else? But even when I'm on my phone scrolling, I try to make it like helpful for me. So if I see a post that I like, I'm like, oh, why did I like that? What did I like that this creator did that I can apply to my own life? And if I didn't like something, I'm like, why didn't I like it? What can they improve on that I can also learn from? So it's like getting into the habit of thinking more critically about everything you're consuming. But I try to create more than I consume. And the other story I wanted to share was that sometimes when you're overwhelmed and busy, like a few weeks ago, I got back from traveling and I was like, the post-travel blues, and I was just in bed and staying up until 5 a.m. because there was the jet lag too. And I felt so unproductive. But then I saw a post where it was like, after a certain amount of time, your brain just doesn't learn things as quickly. And it was so scary to me because I'm like, I still want to learn how to play piano. I want to learn languages. I want to learn how to make my own clothes. There's so many things I want to do. But I was treating it like my life is like infinite and I have time to learn all this. I'm like, oh, I'll just have time after, like when I'm more free, when I'm not so busy doing this stuff. But I'm like, that time is never going to come if I keep thinking like this. So I have to take action right now and like stop overcomplicating stuff. So actually a lot of the things that I was doing, I was like, this actually isn't even that important. So I dropped it and then I made the time to do stuff that I like. So right now I'm like dedicating every single month to learning a new skill. So this month is going to be piano. Today is day 2 of piano practice. So I just keep it really simple, like at least 5 minutes of piano practice every day. And the next month is going to be making my own clothes. So I'm going to get a used sewing machine. And then that's also going to be very simple, like sew something or work on my item of clothing every day. And then at the end of the month for the whole year, I'm going to have like 12 new skills that I can have forever. And then hopefully my brain won't decline as much now that I have those skills. So it's about the urgency of taking simple action.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So you made this video and you mentioned like basically you take your goals and then you reverse engineer them. Can you walk me through, like, let's say piano or whatever else? Can you walk me through the steps that you would take to do that?
Yeah, so for example, okay, so like there's a whole framework for my goal setting thing, and I do this for most projects. So first thing is a brain dump. So I feel like sometimes a blank page and even setting a goal is kind of scary because you don't even know where to start. And to get rid of that blank page syndrome, I'm like, I'm just gonna write down everything I'm thinking about this topic. So I write down like, here are some songs I want to play. Like, this is my piano knowledge so far. Here's everybody that I can ask for help. All my ideas are here. And then after writing that down, I feel like I'm in a better place to kind of start planning. So then the next step I do is my goal state or the transformation that I'm looking for. So the only goal I have for piano this month is to play one of these songs that I like. And so I really want to learn how to play this song because I like this song. So I want to just learn how to play it in 30 days. So it's very specific. I'm visualizing like very clearly at the end of this month, this is what I'll achieve. And then the third step after that is like walking backwards and reverse engineering. So I'm like, okay, to get there every single day, I have to practice piano at least 5 minutes a day. So the habit there is at least 5 minutes of daily piano practice. And a lot of people, I think they get too ambitious. They're like 2 hours of practice and I'll make lots of progress. But I feel like there's diminishing returns there. Like, first of all, if you don't hit the 2 hours, you feel disappointed and then the energy is bad and then you don't want to do it anymore. But if you hit the 5 minutes, and it's pretty easy to do consistently, and if you go over that time, then it's like, yay, and you have good energy and you want to do it more. So I always start with something really easy, like 5 minutes. So that's my goal for piano right now. And then after that is you have to make sure that you write a list of to-dos or things that you can do right now. Because like when you're sitting there planning everything, and I have a template for this, which I can send to you later. When you're sitting there planning everything, you're like so motivated, you're really excited, you have this clear vision of where you want to be. But then the next day, there's going to be all these distractions and then you're not going to be motivated anymore. So I like to harness the motivated energy right away. So on my to-do list, I had like download this app so I can learn how to read sheet music, or like start asking people for piano tips, or like post about it for public accountability, or add a calendar reminder to myself about it. So like I know what motivates myself to take action even when I'm not feeling that great. So I start doing those things right away and checking off the things on that to-do list. A lot of people pick exercise for this. So like let's say their transformation is like running a 5K without stopping to walk. So the easy goal or the easy habit to reverse engineer that could be something like lay out your clothes the night before, like your running clothes the night before every single night. And then the next morning you can go outside to walk or run for at least 5 minutes. That was what I did today. I was supposed to run for like 5 minutes, but I ran for like an hour. So if you set the 5 minutes and then you go past that, you just feel good about yourself. And then that reinforces you to like, you kind of want to try it again. But then if you were like, I want to run for 2 hours and then you only ran for 1 hour, then you feel bad about yourself and then you don't want to do it anymore. And then the most important thing is that consistency. So if you set the goal to be really small and then you hit it and you feel good and then you try again, then you can be more consistent.
Yeah, I've also noticed this, especially with like big goals. It's like there's this quote from, I think, Layla Hormozi. She said, it might be a bit of a tangent, but she said, fear is I think a mile wide and a bitch. Oh, not a bitch. And what is it? A mile wide and an inch deep, something like that. So it's like sometimes you feel like this thing that I'm doing, like this running 5K miles, it's too much. But as you said, like these small things that just like, organize your clothes and just go for a run for like 5 minutes, you get over that hump, that difficulty, and then you can go continue for like an hour. Yeah, that's interesting. So in your newsletter, you shared a story about one time you had this incident in Portland.
Yeah.
Do you think like how much that has had influence on this like your that you feel?
I feel like it's more of a fun story for me to tell. So the story was I was in Portland. I'm Canadian. I'm in Vancouver, and I was in Portland for a concert, and I wanted to get some vegan donuts, but then like it was 4 p.m. or something. I was outside in line trying to pick out which donuts I was interested in, and you hear fireworks, but then it's in the US, so it wasn't fireworks. But I'm Canadian, like these things don't happen. So I was like, it's 4 p.m. The sky is still bright. What's happening? And then somebody next to me in line like pulls me down to the ground, and then we like have to do a squat walk into the donut shop, and they packed us all in there, and we waited there like an hour or something. And then afterwards, they're like, yeah, this shop is like closed for the day. The staff is they're gonna, everyone's going home because they're like shaken. And then they're like, oh yeah, pick whatever donuts you want. You can have them for free. And I was like, yay, I survived and got free donuts. But also, I saw somebody straight up like running, but then I was like, should I be running too? Like, I wasn't training. That's also why I'm like, maybe I should practice my running more. But I remember just like sitting there and thinking like, if like somebody were to come in this donut shop, I wouldn't really regret a lot in my life. And then I was also like, just like that realization, I was like, okay, that's good. I feel like my daily habits so far have aligned with who I want to be. But then through talking to people, like a lot of people message me after seeing my productivity stuff. Through talking to people and getting to understand their problems, I realized that not a lot of people can say that their habits, if they were in that situation like I was, their habits would not really be aligned with where they want to be. So they would be there with a lot of regrets and stress. But I was not stressed. I was just chilling there on the ground. So that's why I tell that story, because I'm like, okay, if your habits right now, like if that were to happen to you tomorrow and you had these same habits you have right now, then would you change anything? Would you have any regrets? And then people are like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, so why do you keep delaying taking action? Why don't you change your habits so that they're more in line with your goals? And then I think they didn't have that perspective. So that's why I tell that story.
Yeah. What do you think is the most like common mistake when people try to like make a plan on achieving their goals and like setting up systems to achieve it? Like what are based on your experience with your students?
Yeah, it's definitely overwhelmed. So a lot of people pick more than one goal for like the New Year's. They're like, I want to get fit, I want to fix my sleep, and I want to do all this. And I think that's fine if it's like easy goals to accomplish, but most people I think are pretty ambitious. And so they pick too many goal categories to focus on. And then they don't know how to, since these are completely new habits, they don't know how to set them up. And then they're like, I have to do all of this. It's so complicated. It's so overwhelming. I need to dedicate like 3 hours on the weekend to figure this stuff out. But then you never have those 3 hours on the weekend. So by making it so complicated and overwhelming yourself, a lot of people just never get started, or they get started and then they lose motivation and then they don't continue or be consistent and disciplined. So what I like to do is make it super easy and simple. And that's what a lot of successful people do, I think, from my own observations. So I have a friend, she posted one video every single day for like months. And one of her goals was to like build out her own content business. So that's why she posted once a day, every day. And I remember asking her like, hey, there's a more efficient way to do that, right? Like you can bulk film all the posts in one day and then schedule it. Then you don't have to spend every day doing this. And she was like, yeah, but that's too overwhelming. Like it's easier for me to just film a video when I'm free and post it immediately, manually. And then to me, it didn't really make sense. But then now I'm like, oh, she has like 20K TikTok followers now, and she's being represented by an agency. So the people who got overwhelmed with you have to bulk film and schedule, and then they don't know how to do that, and they have to come up with a plan. They didn't really make too many posts. Like they made one or two, and then they ran out of steam, and then they stopped. So, or like maybe they'll have this big research and plan, and then they're like, yay, my work is done, and then they never make a post. So if you overcomplicate it like that, and then you don't make progress, then you just kind of lose all the momentum and energy that you built up. So I would rather use that momentum and energy on simple things that matter to you, like just making and posting that video.
Yeah, it's fascinating to say, like to me also it seems like posting it manually is more like overwhelming than just putting it, using a tool to schedule it. But it's interesting to see, like, it's quite a subjective thing. It was different for her.
Yeah, I think it'll be different for everybody. Everyone has certain things they like and dislike. Like I have a friend who loves accounting stuff and spreadsheet stuff. And I hate admin work like that unless it's like pretty with colors and emojis and stuff. So they like doing that. So if they made content about that, they'd be happy. But if I told them like, hey, you need to make content about productivity because I was successful with productivity and it's a lot easier to go viral. And then they had to force themselves, they probably wouldn't be consistent because maybe they don't care about this. So it's very person dependent and you have to really know yourself and try things and have that experience and knowledge to understand what works for you.
Yeah. So I think you shared some of the numbers. So for context, you have this life tracking course, which seems to be doing an amazing job, basically based on what you're sharing. A lot of success cases. How is it? So you're an entrepreneur, you're running your business. First of all, like how difficult it is for somebody like you, or let's say a new entrepreneur who wants to do something like what you're doing, like start creating productivity content and eventually maybe like creating their own course and, selling it. Would you be comfortable like with like sharing some numbers or just like being like saying like how does it actually look like and can somebody sustain their lifestyle using that, like being creating content and putting out courses like you?
Yeah, so I have like some general advice and then I can share some numbers. So if I forget the numbers, just like remind me and I'll share it. So my general advice, this is gonna sound mean, but I would tell people like new entrepreneurs to like stay in your lane. And that's because I made the mistake of not doing that. So it comes from a place of care, not like a place of jealousy. So what I mean by that is, for example, like recently I was looking at all these people who are very like a lot more successful than me. They have their course set up, they have their funnels and everything, and they have like they're making a lot more. So I was like, I need to do exactly what they do. Like, let me study their funnels. I need a funnel. And then like, I hate admin work. So I was like, I don't want to do this. And I delayed it for weeks and weeks. And then I had to like try and keep forcing myself to do it. But then, I got a DM the other day because I posted an Instagram story because I love connecting with people. I love sharing what I'm up to and inspiring people. And I was like, hey, if anybody needs advice on like content creation and business stuff, like just message me. And somebody messaged me and she was like, I don't know how to pick a niche. And everybody's like, maybe I need to pick one that is like profitable. But then if you pick one that like me with admin work and you're like, I have to force myself to do this every day. It's so hard. I can't stay consistent. That's just a lot of bad energy. So I told this person in my DMs, I'm like, what are you passionate about? What can you never stop talking about with your friends and can never get bored of? And for her, that was books. And then I gave her like a whole list of ways to like make book recommendations fun. So I gave her a bunch of content ideas. I gave her a bunch of monetization strategies. And she was like, I didn't even know this is possible with books. Like I thought it had to be like finance or something that was more lucrative. But it's actually more lucrative to do something you're passionate about and like focus on yourself, because I feel like that energy really makes a difference. Because if you're doing stuff that you hate, then that's just going to lead to bad energy. And it's like, why are you spending your entire life doing stuff that you hate? For me, I realized after that conversation and after talking to some other people, I was like, I'm trying to force myself to be just like these other entrepreneurs with success stories, but I'm not them. I have different strengths. I have different things that I like. So why don't I focus on what I do best and what I like best? And which is like just being on camera and like sharing cool things. And people keep saying that they love my energy. Like there's a person that I met up with and he was like, you're so authentic. Like I got comments on some of my events. People are like, it doesn't seem like you're just seeing us as dollar signs. Like you actually answer our questions and care about us. And I was like, wait, maybe that's because I was like, that's who I really am. So I should stop fighting it and being like all these other people when like it's just giving me bad energy and like I don't want to do it. I'm procrastinating and I'm like, why am I such a failure and all that? But if I just focus on what I do well and people love it when I'm like in my element, then you go a lot further that way. Whereas if I was like forcing myself to follow somebody else's step-by-step success story, like obviously our situations are not going to be the same, then, I feel like it's just setting me up for bad energy and failure. So that's what I mean by staying in your lane. Another example to really drive this point home is I started as like travel content creator, and then it was such a pain to film travel videos. Like I had to have my camera out all the time. I couldn't really enjoy when I was traveling. I was kind of like, to edit those videos is a lot of work because you have to sort through the footage and then you have to put it all together. And but I was so determined. I was like, I need to do this, even though I kept procrastinating it because I want to land a sponsorship or like have my business be travel so then I can get my travel paid for. And then a few months later, I actually got a sponsorship from a travel company, and they ended up paying me for a video that I made, but then they also paid me for some of my travel, like the tour tickets or whatever, and some train tickets. And I remember the day of filming, I was so stressed that I couldn't even enjoy that as much. And then like I was so stressed editing the video, I was like crying. I was like, am I gonna be able to give the sponsor what they want? And it was just not a good vibe. So I was like, why was I trying so hard to force myself into this when all along it was so much easier for me to do like productivity videos? And that's like my unique skill and ability that I like doing. If other people were to try and do that, but then they hate being on camera, like, why would you try and force yourself to do that? And then you'd have to be stuck doing that for the rest of your life. So now the numbers for my course, what's really interesting is for pricing psychology, like my course, when I first launched it, it was just like to the early adopters, it was $99 USD. And some people bought at that price. Some people said it was too expensive. And then I moved it up to $199. And then of course you have people say it's too expensive. But then I was like, okay, I'm going to move it up again to $299 USD. The people who said it was too expensive at $199, of course they're going to say it's too expensive at $299. But then I was like, okay, I'll give like a limited time discount coupon. So it's like $199 or something. And then people bought at that price, even though I think they would have said it was too expensive at $199. So it's all about like the value perception, which I still have to nail in my messaging. And I think for cohort 1, I had like 14K in sales, but then some people asked for refunds because they didn't have time to complete the course and they didn't want to try again for the next, like they were going through some stuff. I think somebody had like really bad health issues and they're like, I'm not going to be able to continue regardless of like what happens in the future. Like if you give me another chance to take the course, like I won't be able to continue. So I gave some refunds. And then when I ran cohort 2, I think I introduced payment plans. So I got a little bit less money up front, but then like as the months pass, it's like monthly recurring revenue, I guess. And then, so those two cohorts total, I think it was around 20K Canadian or maybe a little less. And I forgot the USD because I'm in Canada. And I also don't know like what it is after all the platform fees. And like I'm still waiting. If people want refunds, I'll give it to them. But so far, no one has asked for cohort 2. There's like some more numbers as well. Let me pull up my monthly analytics. I share this in my creator newsletter, all the behind the scenes, but I took my monthly revenue. Life as a creator is like every month it's either like, yay, it's so good, or it's like, oh, I made no money, or like I'm in the negatives because I had to pay tax for my fiscal year, and it was like a whole thing. So it's not for everyone. Like you don't get that guaranteed security. Every month is different. But I looked at my revenue for all the months and then I divided it by the number of followers on Instagram, the number of newsletter subscribers I have, and the number of posts I made that month, and then the number of emails I sent that month. And then when you divide it, you just kind of like get what the amount of money you get per email or per post or per follower or subscriber. And I think overall, the revenue per email was the most and the revenue per post was the least. And that's why I'm telling everybody to start an email list because it's so easy and you're not beholden to the algorithm. So revenue per email, this is total revenue, not just course, but like course sponsorship, some affiliate, even though it's like a few dollars. I think those are the main ones. So revenue per email in September was like almost 600. And in October, it was over 600. And the revenue per social media post was $40 in September, and in October it was $32. So
how do you
emails
calculate it? So like you like
oh, it's just like total. It's just like broad in
total
general.
number
Like
of
I can't
posts.
directly add.
Okay.
Oh, for the social media post, it's just like I look at my social media platform, mainly Instagram, and I'm like, this is how many posts I made
Mhm.
in this period in total. Like, it doesn't even have to be promoting my course. Like, this is just how many posts I made. And then for email, it's just like, again, it doesn't even have to be promoting anything. It's just like how many emails I sent total. And those were the calculations. And if you look at like how much money each follower brings me from Instagram, so I think I have like 70K followers on Instagram. And in September, each follower brought me 6 cents. In October, it was 5 cents. But when it comes to subscribers, like email subscribers, which I have like 9 or K of, it was 45 cents per subscriber, or 43. So you can see now that email is where it's at, because some of my students, they told me they straight up deleted Instagram because they're trying to be more productive.
Mhm.
So they only found out about my course through email. And I have people from like YouTube and TikTok, which I have less than K subscribers and followers on each. And they're like, I bought your course for $2.99. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know anybody saw my post there. But they're like, I'm so glad I stumbled upon your posts on this platform. And that's why I signed up for your email list. And then, you know, they converted. And I was like, no sponsor is going to sponsor like my under 3K subscriber YouTube thing. And that's why it's like so much easier for me to just make my own product. And it's fun for me because I used to work for like multiple education companies, and that's all we did. Like, we made courses and then we marketed courses. And I also love marketing. So for me, I was like, this is so much fun. I love doing this stuff. But, you know, like, if you don't like doing something, I would say maybe don't pursue a whole career in it. Or if you have the funds, to outsource it. So like, editing my YouTube videos was taking way too long. I wasn't an expert, so I just hired somebody to do that. And that freed up my energy and time to do something else. And then now my videos on YouTube are doing pretty well. And like, she's doing a much better job than me. And I am also learning from the way she edits the videos and then the thumbnails that she makes.
Amazing. That's fascinating. I mean, I've heard about so many. Oops. Yeah. I've heard about so many entrepreneurs saying that like email is the king. You gotta take email seriously. But this example like really made me believe in emails. So you've gone viral a couple times on TikTok, at least. Do you want to share a couple tips on how to do that?
Yeah, let me send you a video I made about this. So I went viral-ish on my personal TikTok, my brand TikTok, like Vegan Tech Nomad TikTok, my previous company's TikTok, and also on Instagram. But I think TikTok is like easier to test. So I will send you this video, and it's basically, it has like a whole breakdown about how you can do this, but the summary of it is like hook testing.
Mm-hmm.
And TikTok is like the perfect testing ground for it because it's not biased by followers. Most people who see your posts are like people who don't follow you. So they can be brutal and just like scroll away. So if they stay, then you know it's going to be a good video. So what I did for my previous company was I had 3 different videos, and they were the exact same videos promoting our data analyst course. Like, everything from beginning to end was the same. The only thing was like when I was editing it, I duplicated the video, and in the first like 2 or 3 seconds, I changed the text on the screen. So I think one was like, learn as a beginner in 6 weeks. And another one was like, make a portfolio project. And then I forgot what the last one was, but it was like something similar. And then I posted them all at the same time. So all you see is like the exact same video, except only the text is different. So it makes your feed look ugly. But I don't care about that. I'm here for like reverse engineering the virality. So then within like the first few days, each of those videos get like 1,000 or 2,000 views. But then one of the video, I think it was like beginner in 6 weeks or something, it got like 500K views, and the whole video was the same. It was only the text that changed. So I was like, what the heck? To get people to watch the whole video, like, you have to just change a small thing like that. So then we took that messaging because we're like, there's something here that's making people like, that's getting attention. So then we made another video for another one of my courses using that like beginner 6-week messaging. And then it also took off. And then we just like took those videos and we ran ads on them, and then it made us a lot of money. And I did the same thing for some of my videos, but sometimes all the hooks that you make won't really take off. So I feel like it's just, you have to really experiment, and with that experience, you can understand more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, sorry, another learning is entertainment first. So even if the rest of the video is like educational, you're like, I'm trying to teach people stuff, the hook, if you frame it as like entertaining and fun, people will keep watching. And then when you get to the end, it's like, oh, I learned something. Then good. Because if I framed it as like, here's how to do this in 3 steps. Like nobody is watching that. But if I still explain the 3 steps, but then the hook is something different, then people will watch that and they'll still learn.
But how is that? So I've heard this thing where like people compare their like a high profile person would come and say, I have like K followers on Instagram and then also the same amount on TikTok. And then they kind of analyze that like the followers I have on Instagram they are bringing me more money compared to TikTok. Have you like kind of experienced the same thing? So like you go viral, your videos have like, let's say 100K views, but like how much of that amount of people would actually convert to becoming your student, let's say?
Yeah, so when I was in this education company that I used to work for, we spent so many hours trying to figure out attribution. This is like the bane of every marketer's existence. But I realized that the hours I was spending in spreadsheets and trying to figure this out, I'm like, I could be spending that on something else that was like making posts that would actually get people to buy. Like, why was I worrying about where they're coming from? And if people want to tell me where they came from, they will. Like, I've gotten emails. People are like, I'm glad I found you on TikTok, or I'm glad I found you on YouTube. And I was like, okay, cool. I post the same thing everywhere anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. But I will say that the people who really care, they will stalk your profile, stalk your website. They'll stalk you and get access to your email list and sign up. And the email is kind of where the money is. So for me, I'm like trying to get that conversion to the email list. I don't care which social media that they come from. So the most success is through lead magnets, but I don't like sending people just like sometimes I do, like I send them to an email form, but sometimes I just send them directly to the resource and then they can get an email reminder about the resource later, which I find helpful for me because I like the email reminders and I don't want to spam people. I also feel like it's not about the number of followers. So I went viral on my personal profile. It didn't translate to a lot of followers. It didn't translate to any money because on my personal profile, it's just, there's no niche. I'm just like posting my random thoughts and I don't have a link to my email list or anything anywhere. So all those eyeballs on my profile, they're not clicking follow because they're like, this content that I went viral for is not related to the rest of my profile. So they're just gonna leave. But when I went viral on the company's page and my brand page, the rest of the profile is like very specific. It's very similar content. So everybody's clicking follow. The conversion rate was higher from view to follow. And then when you look at like the clicks in bio, it's also higher if your profile is optimized. And again, like my TikTok doesn't have that many followers, but people have bought from it. So I think a better use of your time would be focusing on understanding what content would build a person's trust in you so much that they would purchase what you have. So like, again, I don't have too many followers on TikTok, but people have bought my course from it. And that's because what I was saying directly spoke to them. They felt like I understood them. Like I knew their problem really well. They trusted that I could help them. So then they converted right away. So there are some people who follow you and will never buy. That's why a lot of meme pages with like hundreds and thousands of followers, they have a hard time monetizing because people are not there to buy. But if you want to build authority and a brand that people trust and buy from, then you have to be more careful about strategizing your content. So I would focus more time on content than attribution.
That makes sense. Can you quickly tell me about like what are the tools that you use for all your social media content, whether that's like Canva, whatever, like the video editor that you use, all of that, just your toolkit, basically.
Yeah, I actually have a video and a lead magnet, not really lead magnet, but it's like a whole Notion page with everything. It has some affiliate links. So I'll go through this list with you and I'll share the ones I use today that I think is the best. So the first one is Notion for my documentations and ideas. My Notion is actually kind of messy, but I just like dump everything into an archive and like start new documents, start new subpages. Like you don't have to be overwhelmed about making it look pretty. The other thing is if you're looking to get better at video, you should look into Kale, which is an app for North America only, because I think they only deposit the money into North American banks. But I know a lot of people looking to get into UGC, which is like filming videos of them and products that they're promoting. And Kale is a good place to start because no matter how bad your video is, you will get paid. maybe it's not a lot, but you will get paid. So that's how I started. I don't do that anymore because now I get paid like 1,000 or more for my videos. So their payment is more like under $30. But I made like $200 $300 from like less than 20 posts. So that's how I started. For scheduling, I use Metricool, and it has scheduling, analytics, and a very generous free plan. And for DM automation, I use GetLink in Chat. ManyChat has too many features. Like I don't need half of it. I didn't want to pay for it. So I use GetLink in Chat, which is free. And CapCut for editing videos. Beehive for my email newsletter. And Experientify is my course platform. I have an affiliate link for that. So make sure to include that link. But it's so good because there's like gamification, there's leaderboards, there's a community. People are addicted. Well, not addicted, but people love the sound that when you check off a little task that I assigned for that day, there's like a cute little sound, and they love checking off the tasks. And each task is super easy. It's like, make a copy of this template, fill out this template, and then they just check it off and feel good, which gives them momentum to continue. And that's why I was like, you need to make these tasks and habits as easy as possible. I use Wise for my USD account because that's how I pay in USD sometimes and accept payments in USD, because a lot of sponsors will ask you for a USD bank account so they can transfer you money. And I'm Canadian, so I had to use Wise. Very low fees, very good to use. Of course, I use Stripe. I use Lemon Squeezy, which instead of like Gumroad or Stamstore, which I think they're good, I use Lemon Squeezy because it's a merchant of record, which means that it'll charge tax automatically. Apparently, since I'm an incorporated business here in BC, Canada, I need to charge GST or something. And I did not do that for my course, which this year I had to pay that tax out of pocket. And I was like, how am I supposed to know what country people are purchasing from? But that's why I picked Lemon Squeezy for my Notion templates, because it automatically calculates the tax. I think that's the most important one.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna share this whole Notion document in the video description so people can check that out. So one, basically, wrapping it up, you have this course, life tracking. Can you give me, the audience, a bit of intro on exactly what it is and why should somebody buy it?
Yeah, so this is mostly, okay, it's a little bit unhinged, but it teaches people how to track their whole lives to improve it. Once you get in the course, it's like a little bit less unhinged, but the unhinged modules are optional. So the first module is all about getting very clear about your goals. So I do this thing called 5 whys analysis, which helps people get to the root cause of the problems or insecurities that they're facing. I help them figure out a life North Star metric, which is like the goal that keeps them intrinsically motivated to stay consistent with all the habits. I help them figure out their goals that they want to set habits for and reverse engineer. Week 2 is like studying these routines. So it's like a 4-week course, by the way. And these routines are what helps people stay consistent and reflect. Because sometimes you do a habit and then you forget to go back to it and be like, okay, is this actually helping? So I have like daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly reflection templates. There's like more than 28 templates in this course. I help people make a cute little vision board. There's templates for that too, so that you can look at it every day, like as your phone background or your desktop background. It's really cute. And just like remind yourself of why your goals are important to you. And then you can like manifest that dream life. But it's not really manifesting because I make you actually do the work. And then week 3 is all about organization. So a lot of people who take my course are ADHD, or they think they have ADHD. So even for me, like I can't plan more than 2 days in advance. So I use this thing called Today, Tomorrow, Later. And I also have a template for this. And there's like tons of strategies there about how to organize your work and organize your thoughts. And then week 4 is about how to reflect and live more intentionally. And it kind of like wraps everything up, and like what to do if you feel stuck and you fell off the consistency wagon, but then like how to get back onto it. And at the end, there is a live session. And a lot of people, they're like, wow, this is the only course I actually finished, because you take it day by day. And then at the end, there's a presentation. So every day you work a little bit on these Google Slides, and you just write down the stuff that you're doing and learning. And then you present that to the cohort. And not everybody needs to present, but it's always a good energy because people are so proud of what they've been able to accomplish. People who said they reduced their phone time and they felt more purpose in their life, they achieved their goals, they started going to the gym, which was initially very scary for them, but then they pushed themselves and they actually started doing things that they spent years wanting to do, but never did for some reason. It also is like with the mental unblock, which is in week 1. And then after the live session, they just get lifetime access to the alumni version of the course, which includes all future updates. But I might get rid of the live session. I don't know. It takes so much work to run a cohort, but the experience is really good. And you have a really nice community there to support you. Because a lot of people are like, I thought I was alone in this, but then it's nice to get inspiration and from other people and see that you're not alone. So that's the basics of it.
Great. Yeah, that's that element of like getting all people connected. That seems quite fascinating. Thanks for your time today. Is there anything else you wanted to share? And also, like, where should people go if they want to keep up to date with what you're doing on your social media and all of that?
Yeah, so the first thing is my email list, because I send an email every single week. I have one for just like general productivity, life tracking stuff, which is Vegan Tech Nomad. That's my main brand. But I also have another one called Chaotic Creator, and that one's more like a behind the scenes of my business. So I share income reports there. I share like all the stuff that I shared today, like the video hook testing, the tech stack. It's like in that newsletter. So that's a separate one. And email does also go out every week. I think last week's email was about like influencer marketing stuff that most people don't know about. So I just dumped a whole guide in there. And the other thing is like I'm pretty responsive on social media, even if it looks like I have so many followers and my DMs are a mess. I try to respond to everybody, so I'm there. And I would just say the one takeaway that I want everybody to take from this is like, don't try and fight who you are. I know it sounds so corny, but don't try and fight and just like listen to my story and you're like, I want to do productivity, I want to do a course. But it's like, if you don't like doing those things, then why are you forcing yourself? Like, you have other strengths. Like, keep it simple and focus on what you like to do, and your journey will be so much easier.
Amazing. Thanks for your time, Jennifer. Yeah, happy to have this discussion with you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Cool. Well.
Oh no.